What does it mean to live as a woman? Not just to exist, but to thrive in a world that often hands you a map before you've even chose in your path. For 50 years, I've walked this winding road, stumbling over stones, brushing dirt from my knees, and peering into life's quiet corners to unearth truths that feel less like rules and more like revelations. These aren't sterile philosophies scribbled by distant scholars, they're life laws, pulsing with the grit of real women's lives. Women who've faced down storms, women who've carved their own light from darkness, women like you and me. This isn't a sermon from a mountaintop. It's a story we're telling together, a tapestry of resilience, power, and the slow, fierce art of becoming. Because this isn't just my journey after 5 decades. It's yours too, a call to every woman ready to rise, to shape her world, to claim the life she's always deserved. Work on yourself for yourself, because the truth is everyone will hurt you. You just have to find the ones worth suffering for. Let's begin with a truth that lands heavy and sharp. Everyone will hurt you at some point. It's not a reason to seal yourself off, to build a fortress around your heart with bricks of distrust. It's a quiet invitation to choose with intention. As women, we're handed a legacy from the moment we're born, a script that tells us to nurture, to heal, to pour ourselves into others until we're a husk of what we could be. We're taught to mend their tears before we stitch our own, to soften their sharp edges even when they cut us deep. But what if we tore that script to shreds? What if we turned that fierce, boundless energy inward, not out of cold self-interest, but out of a blazing, unapologetic love for the women we are growing into? Imagine Maya Angelou, a child silenced by violence, her voice stolen by trauma's cruel hand. She didn't wait for the world to coax it back. She dug into her own soul, pulling out poetry like threads of gold, weaving a life that sang. She chose who was worth her suffering, her art, her community, the truth she carried like a torch. That's the kind of choosing I'm talking about. You're not moving backward, so why keep twisting your neck to stare at what's gone? Be proud of how hard you're fighting, every bruise on your shins, every night you've wrestled with doubt under a dim lamp, every morning you've hauled yourself up when the weight of it all pressed you flat. In 1920, women like Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stant didn't win the right to vote by lingering on yesterday's losses. They strode forward, shoulders squared, eyes fixed on a horizon they'd paint themselves. They didn't lean too hard on anyone, not even their closest allies, because they knew even your own shadow slips away when the light goes out. Work your job to keep the roof overhead, yes, but work on yourself to build something vast, a fortune not of dollars, but of spirit, of strength, of a life that crackles with meaning. When you're at your lowest, when the ground buckles and the air thins, that's when you see who's still there, holding a match to guide you through. And here's the spark to cling to. Some of the brightest, most electric moments of your life are still ahead, shimmering on the edge of tomorrow, waiting for you to step forward and take them. I think of my friend Sarah, a woman I've known since we were girls with scraped knees and wild dreams. For years, she bent herself into shapes for people who barely glanced her way, friends who forgot her birthday, a boyfriend who shrugged at her tears, a boss who piled on work without a thank you. One night, after yet another friend cancelled plans with a flimsy excuse, she sat on her creaky porch swing, the cicadas humming in the dark, and cried until her throat burned. But then something shifted. She wiped her face, went inside, and pulled a dusty novel off the shelf, one she'd always meant to read. The next morning, she laced up sneakers she hadn't worn in years and ran until her lungs ached. She started saying no, not with anger, but with a calm that scared her at first. Over months, then years, she built something new, a life where she was the center, not the sidelines. She found people worth her pain, a handful of friends who showed up, a partner who saw her fully. That's what I mean, work on yourself, sift through the hurt, and hold tight to the ones who stay. This is your world, shape it, or someone else will. Bad habits creep in soft and slow, like a quilt you pull over your head on a cold morning, warm, familiar, but soon you're trapped, kicking at the weight. I've seen women, myself, my sisters, my friends, slide into patterns that dim us, habits of second-guessing, of shrinking to fit someone else's frame, because it's easier than swimming upstream. But here's the fire in your bones. This is your world, and you've got every right to mold it with your own hands. Think of Malala Yousafzai, a girl barely into her teens when a bullet tore through her skull for daring to hold a book. She didn't just survive, she reshaped her universe, turning a school desk into a battlefield, a pencil into a sword. She didn't let the Taliban, or anyone, dictate her story. Why should you let anyone sketch yours? No one's too busy for you, it's about what they choose to put first. If something sets your heart racing, guard it close, let it bloom in the quiet. I stopped shouting my dreams to the rooftops years ago, and it was like finding a secret room in my own house. My plans grew stronger in the stillness. Success doesn't drop into your lap, it's a field you've got to till, seed by seed, sweat by sweat. Look at the women of the 1970s like Gloria Steinem, who didn't plead for a voice. They spoke, they wrote until the world had to listen. One day, you'll stand on a hill of your own making, looking back with a pride that fills your lungs, because you didn't fold. Because you didn't fold. Forgive the younger you, she was fumbling toward what you hold now. Letting go of the wrong people isn't a defeat, it's clearing the brush so the right ones can find you. Life's got a way of slipping you exactly what you need, right when your hands are ready to catch it. No regrets, just a promise to climb high next time. Seek respect, not a fleeting cheer. It digs deeper, lasts longer. Trust is a fragile thing, salt and sugar gleam the same under the light, but one stings when you bite down. Once when you bite down. I learned that in my 20s, spilling my soul to a friend who vanished the moment I needed her to stay. I'd sit on my couch replaying every word, wondering what I'd done wrong, until I realized it wasn't me, it was her. Endings hurt, but they're the soil for something greener. Take my cousin Leela, who spent years in a job that sucked her dry. Long hours, a boss who barked, no room to breathe. One day, she walked out, no plan, just a gut feeling. She went home, pulled out her grandmother's old mixing bowl, and started baking, something she'd loved as a kid but buried under shouldes. She sold her first batch of cookies at a farmer's market, hands shaking as she handed over the bag. Now she's got a little shop, a life she shaped with flour-dusted fingers. That's your power too, don't let someone else hold the chisel. Some things must end for better beginnings. Time's got a harsh honesty, it strips away the polite lies and shows you who you really are to someone. Life will tug your friends away, scattering them like leaves in a gust, so wrap your arms around every moment you've got with them now, every late-night talk, every laugh that bends you double. Staying private isn't hiding, it's a shield you wield for yourself. Money buys the groceries, but freedom buys the air in your lungs. You're the one who builds your happiness, not some hero riding in on a white horse. In apartheid South Africa, Winnie Mandela didn't wait for joy to be parceled out. She seized it, standing tall against a system that tried to crush her into dust. That's the blood in your veins too. Do what only you can do, and you'll grow into what no one else can touch. When the storm slams you down and you're clawing for breath, stay calm. You've sailed these waters before, and you'll find shore again. A negative mind is a prison with no key. It'll never let you run free. If someone treats you like a spare tire, leave them like a road you've outgrown. Value the memories over the trinkets. My grandmother, in the lean years of the Great Depression, didn't have much beyond a few coins, but she had stories, stubborn hope, and hands that patched love into every worn quilt. Accept what's here, let go of what's past, trust what's rolling toward you. So many people see your glow, don't waste your stare on the ones too blind to look. Your dreams might blur at the edges now, but patience sharpens the lens. Never forget who steadied you when the floor trembled. You alone are enough, with no need to prove a damn thing. No matter how thick the shadows of yesterday, you can always step into the light. Sometimes the worst moments, the ones that crack you open like a walnut, are the ones that let the best flood in. I met Maria at a shelter years ago, a single mom with 2 kids and a suitcase of clothes. She'd lost her apartment, her job, everything but the fire in her eyes. She worked nights cleaning offices, studied for a nursing degree by day, her kids napping on a cot beside her textbooks. She didn't just survive, she built a life, brick by stubborn brick, until she had a home again, a stethoscope around her neck. That's the alchemy of being a woman, turning ash into something that shines. Be alone until you're valued. Tend to your body, it's not just a shell, it's wealth you can't barter. Hard times sift the friends who scatter from the ones who stand firm. Better days are whispering your name. I swear you won't always wake with that knot in your chest. Your mind's your strongest muscle, and your slickest enemy. Train it, wrestle it down. Don't lash out when someone slices you, slip away quiet as a breeze. Another's climb doesn't dim your own. Keep your circle tight, your life close, your thoughts steady. We break our own hearts with the castles we build in our heads. Mistakes mean you're swinging, not spectating. Use things, love people, flip that, and trust crumbles like dry bread. Florence Nightingale, alone with her flickering lamp in the chaos of war, didn't just bandage wounds, she reimagined what it meant to care, proving solitude can spark a revolution. Not every soul you trust will return the favor. Vulnerability's a flag you fly, not a flaw. Rejection bites, but it's a lesson, not a life sentence. Breathe through the sting. It's a rough day, not a rough road. We've got for traps we stumble into, overthinking, over-trusting, oversharing, over-loving. They'll split you wide, break your heart a dozen times over, but how you stitch yourself back matters more. No one gets to tell you your worth's too small. You deserve the work that lights you up, the love that holds you steady, the peace that settles your bones, the life you see in your quietest dreams. The days that shatter you, they're the ones that shape you. Move more, speak less. Time doesn't wait, it pulls you along. I knew Eleanor, a woman who walked out of a marriage that dulled her edges. Alone, she found her spark again, painting canvases in a tiny apartment, her brushstrokes bold and free. She sold her first piece to a stranger at a flea market, hands trembling as she wrapped it in brown paper. Now her walls are alive with color, her life has again. She waited until she was valued, by herself, by others, and so should you. No relationship is worth your mental peace. Stand on your own 2 feet. Too much kindness can bend you until you snap. You've weathered gales before, this one won't drown you either. Comfort can soften you, dull your bite. Sometimes loneliness is the forge that hardens you into who you're meant to be. You don't need a chorus of yeses to know your name. Watch what people do, not what they swear. Actions don't duck the truth. Expect nothing and disappointment's just a faint echo. Grab every chance that knocks. Regrets sprout from the doors we let slam shut. Dream it, build it. Stop spilling your soul to ears that don't listen. Everyone you meet has a role, even if it's just to pass through. If they drift, let them sail. Your past wasn't a misstep if it taught you a damn thing. Feel that lift. When someone dodges you, don't chase, they've shown their cards. People might forget your words or your moves, but the way you made them feel, that's carved deep. Some paths cross just to nudge you elsewhere. Direction trumps speed every time. Don't fall for the same heart twice. The second time, it's the ghost you love, not the flesh. Failure's a tender, tough teacher. It's a step, not a grave. Cheer the small wins, they're the stones of your castle. Whoever brings you peace gets your hours. Mirror how they treat you, realness cuts the fat. Bet on yourself, those returns stretch long. Stop doubting, read people by what they sling about others, not you, not you. Lock your life tight. Your heart whispers where to go, your head maps the way. Lean on one without the other, and you'll trip. Hard work doesn't always bloom. Know when to step off the wheel, when to stop being its servant. 5 years ago, you dreamed of today. Life's one wild, fleeting spin. Chase what sets your soul ablaze. Small things can snag you, letting the big ones slip through your fingers. 5 years ago, you ached to stand right here. Let that sink in. Sojourner Truth didn't just dream of freedom, she bellowed it, broke it loose with every syllable she owned. That's your heartbeat too. Keep stretching, keep carving, your world bends to your will. This isn't just my story after 50 years, it's ours. Every scar, every stand, every quiet triumph weaves a philosophy of freedom for every woman, ready to seize it. You're not just surviving, you're rising. And that's the truest, fiercest power there is.